Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday. Hope yours is going well. And we are now one day deep into Seahawks Training Camp. Yesterday was the first day. We're going to have some stuff to go over from yesterday because even though it's early in the process, this does allow you to get an early look into where position battles are and get an idea of who's showing themselves to be worthy of more consideration and who might be showing themselves to be worthy of less. So we're going to talk about a few things that happened yesterday on the VMac field. And obviously, the big news from yesterday was the KJ Wright stuff, which I addressed in a video yesterday afternoon. But this stuff's obviously a little more. This stuff has a little more to do with what we're going to see from the team this year. So I'm going to blow through some of the notes that I picked up from various sources who were attending training camp, who wrote some recaps for training camp. Um, Shout out to Mass Temple in the Discord for helping get all this data together, help for keeping an eye out on various people who track Seahawks news and keeping as many people as possible in our Discord aware of the happenings at training camp. So he's obviously doing an awesome job, and he provides kind of a little window into what's going on over there. So shout out to him. He also makes the thumbnails for my videos, by the way. So, all right, training camp. We're going to start with the big news. The big news coming out of yesterday. Not that this is surprising, but the most significant thing as of right now is the fact that for day one, Geno Smith is running the first team offense. Drew Lock was running the second team offense. Lock got 2 reps with the first team at the end, apparently. And Abraham Lucas also got a couple of reps with the first team. But for the most part, both those guys are on the second team for the moment. So as of right now, Geno's the guy, which we expected, but it's still worth pointing out. It's still worth digesting and acknowledging. Word from people who watched the practices is that neither guy played that good. Geno threw a bad interception to Sidney Jones and had several other errant passes. Drew Lock looked a little shaky under pressure and underthrew some deep passes. So neither guy played great, but barring a change, it looks like Geno Smith is the guy. So that out of the way, I want to dig into some of the more minutia things that happened out on the practice field yesterday, starting to kind of maybe get a feel for what we're going to see this season. So, like I said, Jay Curhan got most of the snaps at right tackle with the first team, which that's another very interesting positional battle. Personally, I feel like this one has a very good chance of flipping before the season starts, and I hope it does. No disrespect to Curhan, but like I said, Lucas has much more ability. He fits what we're trying to do on this offense better, and I believe that Lucas has the ability to be great in this offense. Curhan has the ability to be good, and the difference between great and good is significant in the NFL. So hopefully that flips. I think it will flip, but for now, Curhan is the number one. The first team offensive line was Cross, Lewis, Blythe, Jackson, and Curhan. So as of right now, it looks like Lewis is entrenched at left guard, which I'm not a big fan of, but that's the direction we've decided to go. It's one of the few things that we've done this offseason that really kind of doesn't make sense to me. A lot of this stuff I like, a lot of this stuff makes sense, a lot of this stuff I can see it working, but the Damian Lewis thing continues to befuddle me. Unless he's lost a lot of weight and gained a lot of mobility, I don't see how that works. Jackson at right guard actually alternated a lot with Phil Haynes, apparently. So those guys are both going to get an opportunity to prove they should start, which is definitely good because I know Gabe Jackson's a good player, but Haynes is somebody who could be here for a while and has the potential to be a starting guard in this offense for the foreseeable future. Jackson probably not. So I hope that it's an honest competition that Haynes has a real chance to win. But as of right now, it seems like Jackson has the leg up. Speaking of positional battles, one thing that was really interesting and surprising to me is that the number one outside corners on the defense right now are Sidney Jones, which I did expect, and Artie Burns. Now, this makes sense because Kobe's a rookie. You don't necessarily want Kobe to be starting with the number ones when he's just getting here. But Artie Burns, in some ways, kind of a forgotten guy. In some ways, maybe even a little bit unfairly forgotten because he does have a history with Sean Desai. And maybe we should be giving him a little more credit for being able to make the team and maybe even start for the team. But as of right now, he's actually starting. And if Kobe doesn't come along quickly in camp, I guess you could say that he has the leg up on starting because Trey Brown is probably not going to be 100%, and they have that history. So it sounds like the cornerbacks in this practice played really well, by the way. So for those of you who are really intrigued by our positional battle at cornerback, that should be something that's pretty encouraging for a lot of people. Sidney Jones had an interception on a pass that was a little behind Marquise Goodwin. Artie Burns and Kobe Bryant were both able to make plays on the ball to break up passes. So it seems like the cornerback room is showing some positive signs. Even Tariq Woolen got a little bit of a shout out for fighting with the second team. Not literally fighting, but fighting for attention, fighting for reps, fighting to make plays. So cornerback room looks decent so far. Pete didn't really say very much about the Metcalf stuff that we don't already know. He did make it clear that Metcalf is holding out because of the contract. It has nothing to do with the injury. So it's all about that contract. The belief seems to be that the deal is going to get done in the near future, but we'll know when it gets done at this point, basically. They were pretty quiet about anything beyond that. He talked a little bit about Carson, and it became clear a month ago that Carson wasn't going to come back, and Carson's basically accepted that because it was very clear a while ago that this is where this was going to go. It just didn't officially go that way until a couple days ago. So Carson had already come to terms with it, which is good, obviously, because this can't be easy for him. He probably feels like he just got here in some ways, but it's he complimented Carson for working so hard to get back. It just didn't happen. So that pretty much puts a bow on the Carson stuff. If he worked really, really hard and still couldn't make it happen, then it's simply not meant to be, I suppose. We got some encouraging news on a couple of the injured players. Of the 4 players on the PUP, the most notable ones are probably Trey Brown and Tyreek Smith. So apparently Trey Brown is close. Pete said on Trey Brown that he's close. It's not going to be a long PUP stay. He's running hard and working hard, so he should make it back soon. Pete even made it sound like he could be ready to play, maybe not ready to start, but ready to play week 1. And Tyreek Smith is dealing with a hip issue, but he ran well before practice today and could be off the PUP list soon. So those 2 guys look like they could come off the list quickly, which those are the 2 guys who have the most chance to actually play this season. Radigan, however, looks like he's a little more long-term going to be on the PUP, which is unfortunate because he would have had a chance because of the BBK situation, but not if he can't get on the field. Speaking of BBK, he actually did clear waivers, so he is back in Seattle. He's just not going to count against the 90-man because he's going to be on injured reserve. So BBK is going to remain with the Seahawks. He's just going to be out for the year. So I guess that's good. His contract is up after this year, I believe, so it's unlikely he ever plays for Seattle again. But it's at least within the realm of possibility. So that's how that situation has resolved. He had nerve surgery, and it takes a while to recover, according to Pete. And there wasn't too much else that came from this camp. Like I said, neither quarterback played great, but both cornerbacks, or all the cornerbacks, did something to impress at some points. So we're kind of where we thought we would be at quarterback, right? I think a lot of people understand that we have one of the worst quarterback rooms in the league, and it shouldn't be a surprise when those guys have issues. So I don't think that's going to surprise anybody. It's definitely encouraging to hear positive things about the cornerback room because that is a question mark. And that basically sums up day one. You get a taste of who's in the lead for these positions. So we know that Geno Smith's ahead of Locke for now. We know that Gabe Jackson's ahead of Phil Haynes for now. We know that Damian Lewis is left and Gabe is presumably right. And we also know that Artie Burns and Sidney Jones have the early leg up on starting corner positions. And that gives us a pretty good idea of where things are. So the most concrete thing Carroll had to say beyond that was Eskridge was limited in practice today due to a hamstring issue. Didn't sound like it was a big deal, but he did have a hamstring issue during minicamp. So if this lingers on for much longer, people are going to start to really get annoyed because Lord knows D. Eskridge is a player who has already had tremendous problems with injuries. So if this keeps happening, then the Dwayne Eskridge party is going to be over before it began. So that is your roundup on action in training camp. The offense, kind of like it did last year, it struggled, which, hey, you've got Drew Lock and Geno Smith as your quarterbacks. That's how it goes sometimes. But we will continue to keep an eye on happenings at camp. I'm probably not going this year, so I'll continue to just get word from the people who are there. And, hey, it's going to be an interesting season for sure. A lot of interesting things going down. And at the end of the day, football is still football. I can watch lackluster football and still get something out of it. And whatever the Seahawks do this year, I'm going to stay tuned. I'm going to see what's up. And I'm not going to turn away just because it turns into a little bit of a car crash. So here we go, guys. See you guys later on today on Twitch, probably. Go Hawks.